Here with none other than Sir Preme, a local Minneapolis established business. We're sitting here and we're going to kind of discuss his company, humble beginnings, delve into a little bit of his childhood, touch on his nationality, which is really important. You know, if you don't know where you're from, then it's kind of hard to kind of determine where you're going.
100%.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming back for another episode of Midwest Breeze Bosses, where the goal is to uplift, inspire, and educate. So the first question I have for you, brother, is kind of, what was your dynamic coming up? Your household dynamic?
Well, mom, dad, grandparents, strong grandparents, born in South Minneapolis, single parent mom with 4 kids, but then my dad, obviously, was in the picture as well, right? But just strong Christian background, Pentecostal.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I myself have actually been president of some Pentecostal churches in my lifetime. Yeah, more spiritual than it is religious.
Definitely. Yeah.
Don't hold me to it though. Don't hold me to it, though.
Right.
And for people that are tuning in about that, don't spend too much time on that. But anyway, I'm sitting here with Sir Preme, and we're kind of just going to dive into it now. He's the proud owner of Ride Set, which I kind of sum up to be like a luxury transportation business. Does that be the same way that you would sum it up for someone that's listening and cared about your company for the first time?
Right. Yep. Definitely luxury. It's a Supreme Executive Transportation, but it's Ride Set, so SET is just the acronym for that.
Okay.
So your ride is set, but yeah, it's definitely luxury.
Okay.
And it's more than just transportation with us.
Okay.
We're looking to do more of an experience.
Okay.
It's a feeling.
Okay.
Right. To know who your driver is, to know that they're on
True.
time and things of that nature.
True.
And being safe, professional.
True.
That's what.
And it wouldn't be quite the interview if I didn't touch on kind of this global pandemic that we all went through, and you being in the transportation business and just the impact that had on many industries, but predominantly anything that had to do with person to person. How was that like for you during that time? Did you see a decline in people using your business?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. 100%. There was nothing shaking for 2 years. It was pretty tough. I had once I started this the transportation company, what I did was I still was working a job. And when I opened it, I didn't use it for a year.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was still trying to figure out the law of the land. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, of course.
Business
is good, by the way. Phone's going up. That's always a good sign.
Right. So when I started, I sat on it for a year. I did it right before Super Bowl.
Okay.
And to be truthful with you, man, I didn't even see all of this coming.
Okay.
It wasn't like it was on purpose, right?
Yeah.
I got a nice vehicle off of the revenue that I had generated from my company.
Okay.
The company I was working for.
Okay.
And I was like, well, let me just get something that's going to pay for the vehicle and like use Uber.
Yeah.
And Lyft.
Yeah.
And see how that rolls, right?
Yeah, and my question there, I kind of want to touch on a couple of points you covered. First and foremost, when it comes to inventory and you deciding to develop your own platform opposed to doing what most people coin in marketing terminology, curate and take what's already there. Like you've seen a lot of people during this time frame. When I say time frame, I mean like the last 3.5 years, or a little bit shorter time span than that, maybe a year and a half, 2. It's kind of hard to keep track of how long we've been in this pandemic. I think 2019 up until now, probably like 3 years, give or take.
Yeah.
But a lot of people you've seen went into Turo and they got cars that way. So what made you actually? I know that you said that you you started off by using the capital that you had amassed working for someone else, and that's very important. You don't want to hop into something before you are prepared and have some type of reserve to fall back on. So good for you, brother.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what kept me going for the 2 years that nothing was shaking.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't really get into it to do my own company. It was just to do Uber and Lyft.
Oh, okay.
But what happened was I seen that they were taking such a huge percentage per transaction,
Okay.
and it was kill. It was like I was like, man,
Okay.
I mean, I could do this on my own. So I did it. Started the business up right before Super Bowl
Okay. Yeah, Super Bowl. And what Super Bowl are we speaking
here
about?
in Minnesota.
Okay.
that was in 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. 2017.
Yeah, whenever.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that was.
Okay, I can't even remember who was playing. But I'm sure
It,
someone
it,
took
it,
it.
should have been us. It should have been the Vikings.
He's talking about the Vikings, by the way.
Yeah. But they lost. It was the Philadelphia Eagles and somebody else.
I actually believe I may have, around the time you started the company, I may have been working at Microtel, if I'm not mistaken.
Microtel?
Because the only reason I remember that now is because it was during Super Bowl weekend.
Okay.
So you were starting the company, I was working for someone else.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Hey man, hey, you know, that is just fine, man. You gotta do that.
You know, it's a saying back home, you gotta get it how you live.
You gotta get it, man. You know,
gotta get it
whatever
how you
puts
live.
food on the table,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that's interesting. So you started the company during, well, obviously post-pandemic, because
Yep.
obviously it was
Yep. Yep.
prior to that.
So I was with the company, was still working and having my company, and I had a driver that was driving the vehicle when I was at work.
I was just going to ask you that. When did you ask your first employee? And it sounds like you had it right
Right away, right after the Super
Okay.
Bowl hit, which was really lucrative.
Okay.
I thought that was going to hit it out the park
Okay.
like that all the time. But
Okay.
yeah, I put an employee in place. So when I was at work, they were out in the vehicle.
You know, that's precisely, I kind of want to touch on just, I know, you know, it's oftentimes been said that there's a lot of, you know, people that call themselves businesses, but they don't have any employees, they have goods and services. But how do you feel about that? You think it's truly a business if you don't have an employee?
No, I highly disagree. I think
Okay.
that a business is about doing what needs to be done from a scaling standpoint,
Okay.
and still utilizing the people that have gifts around you, right?
Okay.
If someone doesn't have to necessarily work for you, they work with you,
Yeah.
and you know that's how business is done all over the place.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned more in this business is that you know, not all of these people have all of these vehicles, but you're an independent operator, and I got the job, but I get it out to you, so you're able to generate revenue off of me, and we're still able to, you know, make things keep going.
Absolutely. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, and then the client is satisfied, and that's really the bottom line. It's especially when you have a certain kind of brand that you want. You just make sure that you pick the right people to do these transfers for you, and then from there, it's, you know, everybody's happy to come back, and you're going to keep getting more and more independent operators.
Absolutely.
That does not necessarily mean you're not a business. You are a business.
Absolutely.
In fact, go ahead.
I was going to say, because you mentioned scale, and that's, you know, a very, you know, popular term is used, you know, obviously when you're looking to, you know, build your company. Are you feeling at any moment that you may franchise, right, Sir?
You know, Scott, there's no limit.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things in this industry. It's huge, right? I mean, this is $1 billion, you know, in transportation. There's so many different ways that we can skin the cat. But I think that timing is what dictates agenda, and you might not want to do too much right away, and just wait and see what happens, and let things happen organically, right? But it is definitely something that's in the back of my mind.
I don't like to use the term reluctant entrepreneur. I think the term would be more like defensive entrepreneur. Defensive entrepreneur. A lot of people have, you know, realized that they need to do more than just what they're doing, maybe working for someone else to, you know, kind of obtain and take care of their wants, necessarily not just their needs.
Right.
So kind of just going back a little bit, you mentioned your childhood, the dynamic there. Great that you touched on that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. What was your earliest experience with entrepreneurship? Was it in the household?
100%. So yeah, my mother, my family on my mom's side is from East Africa, from Eritrea.
Okay.
And she came in when she was 10 years old through my mom's oldest sister. Brought everybody from back home where they were at war, right? Ethiopia and Eritrea was at war because Eritrea wanted its own independence. Anyway, my family is merchants. They learned, how to work for themselves. They had to, right? Work for themselves at an early age. So when I started doing sales, I was 11 years old, and we were selling, Oriental rugs out of a van, and then we're going to festivals and things of that nature. And I just, by watching my older cousins, I started doing sales that way. That's when I got into entrepreneurship, really, for my family.
Yeah, my story is a little bit different. My first stroke at entrepreneurship was running my own KoolAid stand on the corner.
Nice.
I made my first $100, and then after that, in high school, actually was selling chocolate, which I'm sure you've heard about that, going door to door, world's finest chocolate, doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
But instead of doing it for the dollar, I figured, and I came up with my own strategy. Let me go over to the construction sites because they're going to be hungry. I know I'm selling these for $1, but I could probably get $2, maybe even $3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where
that's what it's about. Yeah. How old were you?
Somewhere around the same age as you. I think
about
like
11,
11, like 9, 10, 11, somewhere around that.
Yeah. We used to set up a tent in St. Paul, actually. It was Tiger Jack's. He was the older gentleman in the neighborhood that had a little candy shack, and he had a lot right next to it. He said, come on down, and you could set your tent up here, and we would hang the rugs and have pictures of people walking by or driving by. One thing that he taught us at a young age was it doesn't matter as long as it ain't raining, you need to be outside every single day. It's consistent. Being consistent is key.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said, I don't want nobody to be driving around here and you guys are not here because that makes me look bad. And that stuck with me at an early age.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about perception, and it's all about rolling up your sleeves and kind of, not being scared to get dirty.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, brother, I kind of want to stay on the subject of your national, just like where you're from, because like I said, again, that's very vital.
Sure.
So when we talk about Eritrea, for the people that are going to be listening that may have never heard of Eritrea, could you just kind of talk on that?
Yeah. Well, Eritrea is just it's by the Red Sea. It was in Ethiopia at one point in time, by Djibouti, Red Sea. They were fighting for about 30 years to get their own independence, and I believe they ended up getting their own independence in like '93.
I know there's another prominent figure we could touch on really quickly. The past Nip Hustle, also from Eritrea.
Yep. His family is from Eritrea as well. Yeah, he's from Eritrea as well.
Absolutely. I've began to read off his book list. I don't know if you ever read the book. I'm not sure how much reading you do. The book is called Contagious.
Okay, no, I haven't read.
Yeah, I think you got to add that one to the list.
Okay, is that a Nip?
It's not made by Nip. It was on his book list. Books he's read.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that.
It's got the story about the $100 cheesesteak.
Yep. I remember. Yep. I remember him speaking on that actually.
Yep.
And it's so crazy because it's such a tightly knitted community. My uncle and his dad were on the same lines of the protests and whatnot in Africa, which is
during the struggle for independence.
Correct. Yeah, which I think is pretty smooth. But rest in peace, brother.
Absolutely, rest in power to Nip Hustle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're building your own empire yourself, my brother. I'm building my own empire. We're here in Minnesota. Minnesota for me presents a lot of opportunities. Back home had its own opportunities, but here is more diverse. Back home it's like you got Hamtramck, which is predominantly the Polish community. Then you got Dearborn Heights, which is predominantly the Arab community. But here in Minneapolis, you've got East African, West African. You've got Hmong. You got all these different people, kind of like a boiling pot, like how San Francisco was at some point.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of why I stayed.
Yeah. Well, from my mom's standpoint, where she comes from, she came here when she was 10 years old, and then my dad. My family goes back here to the 1800s in Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the first black families from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. So my grandfather was bishop. of jurisdiction in Minnesota, and then my dad ended up being the founder of Circle of Discipline, nonprofit organization that's based out of South Minneapolis and is currently in Southeast, which is a huge situation there. Yeah, boxing, teaching the younger brothers in the community how to be, spiritually, mentally, spiritually, and physically balanced within self, man. Yeah,
That's most important, especially as recent years, how mental health and kind of that whole thing has come up as far as when it relates to man and being more open.
Yeah, when it relates to just people, period, right? Men and women. I mean, there's a lot of people that are dealing with things, and it's a great way to channel your energy in a positive manner, And not only do we do from a physical standpoint, but mental, right? Like helping with the tutoring, the classes, and all of that. I mean, it's a well-rounded organization, and that might be something that you can tap into.
Absolutely, I most certainly need to get that information before you leave here today.
Yeah.
Well, we're in 2023. It's kind of odd to say that because we were just in 2022. Now we're in a brand new year.
Yeah.
How have things been going forward, Rice? I know that you mentioned off camera that you have some partnerships or vendors. I didn't want to speak on them. I kind of wanted to leave the floor open for you, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, from the time from the inception until now, it's crazy. I again didn't envision all of this happening. We've done, remarkable. We've done almost 100 celebrities with just word of mouth, right? And a lot of the people came from people that we know, which is awesome. And the vice president of Nigeria, motorcades, and all of that, I've been able to experience that off of word of mouth. So for 2023, instead of being reactive, we're looking to be a little bit more proactive.
Absolutely.
And change the name of the game from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
A little bit more marketing, SEOs, SEMs, getting some of the content, social media. I'm not good at that, at that stuff. That's really not my lane. But again, that goes back to utilizing other people's gifts and talents to get these things out to the world, because they need to see what it is that we're doing. Not from the standpoint of just like people's privacy, right? Because when you're in the transportation industry, not everybody wants to be broadcasted. They want to just ride, sleek, get to where they're going, executives and whatnot. But we're going to take it a step above that and implement some really, really cool things here in the near future. Really don't want to touch on it as of yet, but it's going to be explosive.